Do you ever find yourself reacting to circumstances like a child? Like a child having a temper tantrum? Join us for this wonderful conversation about Gene Key 53, woven together with the wisdom of the Sabian symbols, to help us best embrace the energy of the week and the full moon in Capricorn. Welcome to the Free to Be Free portal. I'm Julia Ananda, and I'm here with Margaret Miller. Margaret, I'm so interested in this conversation.
Thank you, Julia. Yes, this is a powerful one. And when I think about the Gene Key 53 with its shadow of immaturity, the gift of expansion, and the Siddhi of Superabundance, I think about, I can't help but think about like the stage of evolution that this that the humanity is on, is in, or is on, and where the potentials for growth and maturity and superabundance might lie. It's pretty exciting and impactful. So I'm going to start I think, with the Sabian symbols today, and just kind of weave them both together. Uh, I will start with that idea of the shadow of immaturity and what that really means. I mean, we have obvious examples of immaturity when we're children. We can't, there's certain things that we, can't handle or can't do, right? So, and that's sort of our natural stage of development. And but immaturity as a shadow is when we are, for instance, using our energy to just get what we want, when we are trying to run from pain, run avoidance of any painful or difficult situations, and only seeking, gratification or pleasure or whatever. For a little child, that makes sense. But for the adults on the planet, it is a great shadow of immaturity. And so, just like any of the shadows, it deals with our fear and reaction. And I might not get mine if I don't get it all right now. That's sort of one of the ideas of this shadow. But I want to bring in Cancer, the Sabian symbol, and just remind everybody, if you're not familiar with the Sabian symbols, that there are 360 Sabian symbols, one for each degree of the zodiac. And they are these beautiful archetypal word pictures that bring clarity to each of the degrees of the zodiac, and allow for all kinds of personal interpretation and as well. So I utilize them in my astrology readings all the time to help people to hone in on particular energies in their charts. And I've certainly, that's one of the reasons why they became so beloved to me, is that they are very, very powerful teachers in that way. So I'm going to go back and look at a symbol that we talked about last week, and that is 16 degrees of Cancer, and it's a man studying a mandala with the help of an ancient text. Okay, and so, and in the original interpretation of this, it talks about when we are getting ready to start something new, or when we have put our attention on some action or some plan, some course of action, that we have to then integrate the different levels of our being, which this is Dane Rudyard that I'm not quoting, but sort of paraphrasing, and that those areas of our personality of or our life are the actional, the emotional, cultural, and the individual mental. And we don't come into any kind of maturity until those three parts of ourselves are integrated. And in order to do anything, in order to really, uh, you know, have our potentials realized, those have to be integrated. And so immaturity is when those are not yet integrated, right? We haven't learned how to take the action with regard to our emotional state and the implications for other people, how it might impact other people, and whether or not it's culturally acceptable, right? Whether it's, something that is going to raise a lot of red flags or in the community, and also in our own mental process. Have we thought it through for ourselves personally, and what the implications of that might be? So that's a beautiful sort of demonstration, really, of what has to happen in this symbol, the studying of the mandala. And then we move into Cancer 17, and the Sabian symbol for this is a germ becomes life, or the seed becomes life. And it's the original wording for this I just love. And it's the archetypal soul becomes filled with life contents. Okay, so you can kind of feel that, right? So here you have the seed, this little tiny thing, or the soul that can't be seen, can't be, expressed in that way. And and but yet inside of it are all of the potentials for life, all of the potential for whatever it's going to become is there. And and then as it emerges, then it comes into this um the growth phase, where it expands, right? It starts becoming something, and with the proper nurturance and care, then can fully blossom, fully unfold into this superabundance of life, then where we get to see how things unfold. So beautiful, beautiful symbol for this gene key as well. And then Cancer 18, a hen scratching the ground to find nourishment for her progeny, right? The hen scratching for her chicks. And so it's that idea of, in order for that growth or that expansion, the natural expansion to happen, we have to be properly nourished, and whatever it is that we're doing has to be paid attention to and nourished properly, and devoted. It has to be devoted to. There has to be that really strong energy of devotion in order for something to grow into its truest form. And I also, I think about this when we think about moving into expansion. We can look at it, from the sort of a business, like in the world of business. We think growth, like a lot of times the idea is that growth at all costs, right? But that's really over expansion, because true natural expansion has balance in it, and it has controls to it that allow, if something's not in balance, it shows up, right? So if we're just driven by greed, which by the way is the programming partner of the 53rd gene key, is the 54th gene key of greed, aspiration, and ascension. Okay, so we in the gift level, we're aspiring to something and we're expanding, right? But at that shadow level, we're driven by this immature greed, like I just want, we want this to grow and make money, and that's its only purpose, right? Which, it is a purpose of business. If you're in business, you want to make money, you want to have it flourish, but it won't continue to flourish. It will have a lifespan, and the consequences of that we see in our environmental degradation and in so many different ways, and the exploitation of people and resources and the planet and animals and everything. So that's all in the shadow of immaturity. And we don't have that many examples yet. Hopefully more and more will be popping up in this next cycle here, of of businesses that know how to expand and know where the limits of that expansion are. And then once that starts to happen, then it unfolds into this incredible amount into superabundance. And the Siddhi of Superabundance, it sounds like one thing, but really it is above or beyond abundance, where then whatever is being produced or whatever is happening gets fed into the proper channels, into like humanitarian causes, or where the businesses then are, whoop, I just got buzzed. uh, and where they are giving of that wealth and giving of that to nurture the other things that need to grow in society, instead of just thinking of the well-being of their own business. So Cancer 19 then is a priest performing a marriage ceremony. And we see in this, the obvious symbol of union and sacred bonding. And this really does, it starts to speak to the gift of expansion, where now we're uniting with another, or others, to create something new. Like the marriage then creates this new entity that can then be nourished and grow, and potentially there's a family that grows out of that. And so there has to be a level, well, there ought to be, I don't want to say should, but be a level of maturity that happens in that kind of a commitment, right? When you're making that kind of commitment, where you are now bringing two individuals, or two things together to create something new. And so it it's moving away from separation into unity. Like these are archetypes, so it's not that you have to get married or something like that. It's not about that. It's about, in order for something to mature, then we have to move away from separation and come more into our interconnectedness with others, and to really bring that into synergy and superabundance. Then we have to be in alignment with our all aspects of ourselves. I think about the integration of the masculine and the feminine within each individual before they, or and then bringing those integrated wholes together to create something completely new. Okay. So then Cancer 20, Venetian gondoliers giving a serenade. Okay, so this is to me that it's talking about harmony. It's talking about uh, you know, cultural expressions, right? And and really the expression of joy and abundance and creativity. And so it is we can only do those kinds of things in a sort of mature consciousness in some way, where we're offering that serenade to someone, or we're um, expressing our joy and offering that out into the world. And then the next and final symbol that is associated with this gene key is Cancer 21, and it's an operatic prima donna singing to a glittering audience. Okay. And so this is, it's the mastery of self-expression and individual radiance. It's when that archetypal soul that has been filled with life contents has matured and utilized. And in order for it to become an operatic prima donna, the amount of training, the amount of work, the amount of giving yourself over to the fully to the art, right? And then that superabundant expression of that life, of that soul pouring through, is just such a beautiful, beautiful symbol. Yeah.
It makes so much sense that in maturity, we're finding balance within ourselves and then balance within and without, and also unity of all our parts within ourselves and unity with others to create something grander.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
expand into life, that's that gift of expansion, is saying that growth is natural, and it's an unfolding that happens, but it has to be nurtured, and it has to be, the difficult parts, the painful parts, have to happen and have to be allowed for and have to be accepted and embraced, right? In order for us for that expansion to then flower into that superabundance. So, and the superabundance, right, is also, it sounds like maybe, getting rich, or, becoming super wealthy, and it could be that, but usually it's more about this. It's above and beyond. Like I said, it's a beyond abundance. It's knowing that we've that everything is provided for us, that we are part of this whole, that we're not separate from it, like that we are connected to the earth and all its inhabitants, and that as we grow and expand in our consciousness and in our lives and in what we have to offer, that life reciprocates, and that abundance is, you know is just us being alive and flooding the earth with love.
Oh, that's beautiful. And talk to us a little bit about the cities a little more. So, were you saying that we lose ourself when we reach that level?
Yeah, the personal identity then has disappeared, because this being, if someone is living at acidic level, that being knows themselves to be part of everything, and that their individual um, ego or identity has sort of dissolved, and so the states of enlightenment are, what's the saying is, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water; after enlightenment, chop wood, carry water, you know. So it's not necessarily some, you know, something that well, it is this incredible, you know, beautiful explosion of light, perhaps, right? But it's also uh just melting back into the whole.
Mm, And I love that you say we can touch those states, right? We may not melt into the whole tomorrow, but that we can open up and touch it and be there for a moment, perhaps.
Yeah. I think even more than that now. I think that we have moved into a phase in our evolutionary process, and this is just my, you know, my feelings on it, but also it's mirrored by, you know, eh, all of the teachers that I follow and all of the, you know, it's happening where we will the potential for us to live in those states is very real. It's not it's not something out there like the time of the you know following the guru, although that's still, you know, that's still a valid path, but that is, it's more about us really trusting and allowing our natural unfoldment to occur. You can't force enlightenment, right? It happens when it happens, and it has its own timing. And but if we are, it's not going to happen if we are still so individualized and still so focused at the shadow frequencies. It's they don't mix, they don't come together. But as the collective consciousness is raising, then the potential for, you know, more people to raise up to that Siddhic frequency is very real. You know, I like to encourage that. That's always been something that I've, you know, that's part of my work in the world, is to look at people's potentials, like through their charts or through their, you know, through these different um methodologies, and you know, encourage the self-empowerment that's required, and the emotional intelligence, and the, you know, all of those things, the integration of the parts of ourselves, so that the that unfolding can happen naturally. Yeah.
Think that there's a step of trust and surrender when we're still identified with our ego or our individual self, that we're like, well, I still want to survive. But I just trust and I just surrender that everything's going to be okay. Does that come before you touch the acidic state, or is that?
Right. I have, well, I don't know that I'm qualified to answer that question. Because and the part of what you said though too is like, it's not saying, you know, it's like, keep your day job, right? Keep your, you know, do the things that are required, right? Take care of yourself, do the things that are required in our lives, but don't be so attached to them and thinking that that's the end result. The end result is, you know, we don't take our things with us when we leave this earth, right? We don't take anything with us. We don't even take our body with us, right? So, so what is it that we're expanding? What is it that we're trying to grow into? And if it is that, you know, reaching those Siddhic states, then it's about, how can I be of the greatest service to the whole? And so, yeah, I would say that that's, you know, that would be always the step, is to ask that question, is what I'm doing, what I'm putting my energy and attention and efforts into, is it serving just myself, or does it have a larger purpose? And is it feeding and nourishing and what are the consequences of it? Is somebody or something being completely damaged by this? Then I probably need to reevaluate, right? And if is what I'm offering to the world just through my presence and being, is it contributing in love and in harmony and in compassion and, you know, all of the different cities, right? So now we're going to look at this upcoming full moon in Capricorn, which is occurring on July 10th at 1:36 p.m. Pacific time. So adjust for the time in your area. And it is occurring at 19 degrees of Capricorn. And of course, the full moon always is the moon in opposition to the sun, the moon opposite the sun. So the Sabian symbol for the sun, remember, is that 19 degrees of Cancer, which is a priest performing a marriage ceremony. And the symbol, the Sabian symbol for this moon at 19 degrees of Capricorn is a child of about 5 carrying a huge shopping bag. Okay. And the energy of this, I love that it kind of it moves so well with this 53rd gene key. It's like is really taking on and managing things that you know, difficult challenges, right? So taking on something that's sort of beyond our current abilities, but that reaching and that striving allows for a huge amount of growth, right? So this is the energy of this full moon, and it has to be balanced, right? Otherwise the child could hurt themselves, or they could drop the shopping bag, or the, you know, all kinds of, that has to be supported and balanced. And so this is the energy that I kind of want to focus on for this full moon is, you know, what have I put into place? What did I put into place as my intentions for the new moon? Come back and reevaluate and look at it, because probably it was something that might have been beyond my current abilities. You know, it's something that I'm desiring to create, and to look at it from that perspective of the gift of expansion. You know, how can it expand naturally and in a balanced way, so that it doesn't it's not coming from fear, and it's not coming, because that's, we want to plant those seeds in love, not in fear, right? And so are there places where things have to be let go of, or did I take things in a direction that is clearly not working? So just sort of reevaluating what we have begun, but also allowing this energy to give us the courage and the strength to move towards those things that sort of have felt out of reach, or sort of beyond our skill level, because we know that we'll grow and expand through that. So, and then looking at the sun there at that 19 degrees, it's like and in Cancer, well, first of all, I'm going to come back to this moon in Capricorn. The Capricorn is about our businesses and our structures and our governments and our, it really is, it's ruled, one of its rulers is Saturn. And so it wants us to really have the proper foundations and the proper structures in place. But with this symbol, it's saying, with those structures in place, can you stretch beyond your current level of maturity and move forward? And so this thing is a beautiful symbol for a full moon. And I want to look at just a couple of things that are happening as well during this full moon time. Uranus will have just moved into Gemini for the first time in 84 years on July 7th. Okay. It will move back out in November and then come back in April of 2026 for its, moving forward for the next 7 years. And so Uranus in a new sign, right? Uranus is the higher mind. It is authenticity, it's rebellion, it's speaking the truth, it's offering this expansion of consciousness into the sign of Gemini, which is rules the third house of communications and the ways that we communicate. So all of the different, there's possibilities for all kinds of expansions in, of course, the AI expansion, and all of the different technologies are ruled by Uranus, and because it's an electrical energy. It's also kind of a shocking energy, right? The lightning struck tower. And so it can also bring all kinds of disruptions in those areas as well. And so and it is the last of the outer planets moving into their new signs. Pluto is fully in Aquarius now. It won't be going back to Capricorn. And Neptune is fully in Aries as well. And so these outer planets have all changed signs in the last several years. And so it's a very, very powerful. The outer planets are about the collective, right? They're about our collective energies. And so this Uranus is also conjunct Sedna, which is one of our newest planets discovered. And it rules our spiritual destiny. Both Sedna and Uranus at these degrees are in the 20th gene key. And so, so utilizing the energy of this at the gift and Siddhic frequencies, it's like, how do we use our resourcefulness towards our spiritual destiny? How do we utilize our resourcefulness to find new ways of thinking, new ways of communicating, new ways of being in this world, and our and our local environments, which Gemini also rules here. So there's lots of aspects, of course, but the other one that I want to talk about is that Saturn and Neptune are still conjunct in the sign of Aries. And Saturn is our structures, our foundations, our limitations, but it's also at its highest frequency is about mastery. And Neptune is, at the low frequencies is confusion and fog and delusion and illusion, addiction, those kinds of things. And at its highest frequency, it's about universal love. And they are both still in the 25th gene key, which is the shadow of constriction, the gift of acceptance, and the Siddhi of universal love. And so there's to me these powerful opportunities during this full moon, right? Because the whole chart is lit up by the light of the full moon, and to utilize those energies towards what we're trying to create in the world. And so that's there's a lot more that I could share, but I think that's probably enough for this particular time. So,
Yeah. So I wrote down some of the key words that really caught my attention throughout this discussion, and they're really lovely. So being integrated, all the parts of us, and then interconnectedness with others, and then on a larger scale, the collective energies. So it really does bring us back to that unity, balance, and serving the whole.
yeah. Yeah, it does. And I want to like just lighten it up a little bit too with the idea that, we're always moving in and out of the different frequencies, or at least I still am, and they're one of my favorite questions that my husband and I always ask, when we've had an upset, when there's been some sort of upset or something has triggered one or the other of us, or sometimes both of us, uh, and that is how old am I right now in my response, in my react like a knee-jerk response. How old am I? Am I 5? Am I maybe 10 or 12? How am I responding to this and at what level of maturity? And so being playful with that and allowing ourselves to, because there are places in our many times, like as we're going through our own spiritual evolution, where we aren't mature yet, we haven't integrated ourselves fully yet, and it's okay, like to be okay with that, and but also recognize it and utilize those things as something to recognize and to work through, and to then be able to expand more naturally into our true potentials.
Love it. Love it. Margaret, thank you very much. And the little girl in me has really had fun doing this with you.
Mine too. Yeah.
Okay. So like and subscribe and tell us in the comments in which ways you're expanding. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.